You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beeble and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We're getting ready for week 3 in the NBA. This shows I'm starting to call. I hope I can get it to stick. Sit, start and stream as we look ahead to how we stream for the week. For daily changes leagues. I had a few people asking what does stream actually mean, Josh. We'll get into that in today's show as well. Guys to start, guys to sit, good short-term options and how to maximize the benefits of the NBA schedule for you, Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. And people, you can asking me what streaming means. It's great there are so many beginner people watching this channel and listening to this podcast and playing fantasy basketball. It's fantastic and growing the game is awesome. So what streaming means is it's using usually your worst spot on your roster, sometimes depending on your league settings, your worst 2 spots, and just churning through that roster spot. So you add someone for Monday when they play. After they play on Monday, you drop them. You add a guy that plays on Tuesday's game. You add him in. You drop him. You add a guy that plays on Wednesday's game. You drop him. So for that one roster spot where you might get 4 games out of it, if you're streaming, you can get 6 or 7 games. And those additional games during the week obviously helping getting those bulk counting stats going. Now, when I talk about on these weekly preview shows, it's about where to target streams because most leagues will have restrictions on how many times you can add a player during the week, how many ads you can have. Usually it's set at 4. So if you can get benefits out of adding a guy, then he plays 2 games in a row. That's 2 games for the price of 1 ad rather than just I'll add 1 guy for Monday, 1 guy for Wednesday, 1 guy for Thursday, 1 guy for Friday and get 4 games. And then, of course, with the unbalanced NBA schedule, there'll be some days where you go to stream someone in and there's 11 games on and you stream him and he's your 12th best player. He sits on your bench and you don't actually use him. So it's a waste of an acquisition. So the difference between streaming, this is also short-term streaming as well, but your daily streaming is that. Short-term streaming is like a situation in Detroit in a deeper league with Reggie Jackson out for 4 weeks. You stream in Tim Frazier in those 16-team leagues. You use him for these 4 or 5 weeks, and then you get rid of him. Yeah, Markieff Morris in the deeper leagues, sticking with Detroit as well. While Blake Griffin's out, he's a short-term stream option. Daniel Tice in Boston with Enes Kanter out is a short-term stream option. So you use them for that time where they've got that added value. And then you move on from them. And that's exactly what streaming is. Let's talk about week 3 in the NBA. Quite a different schedule set up than what we've had through the first 2 weeks. 6 games on Monday and 6 games on Tuesday. They are prime streaming days. Anything with 8 or fewer games on that day is a good streaming day. Wednesday we have 9, which for some people you'll be able to get players into your active slot. Some you don't. That's a real borderline one. 4 on Thursday, prime streaming day. 11 on Friday. 5 on Saturday, and 8 on Sunday. So when we look at this, the 2 days that stand out where we probably can't stream are Friday with 11 games, which almost definitely you're not going to be able to get any streaming action going there. And then on Wednesday with the 9, so it's touch and go. So where we've got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days for those of you that can count like I can. That's 5 days where we're going to be able to use an active streaming spot, maybe 6 if we're including Wednesday, meaning that using those ads is going to be really important. If you've got a 4 acquisition limit for a week, then knowing when to use them and how to use them is key. In general, you probably try and save them up a little. If you're going to save them, you save them up for the end of the week so you know which categories you need to target in a head-to-head matchup as well. Hey, I really need steals over the weekend, so let's grab some steal specialists in those last couple of games. So that's important to be able to know as well. So you're going to have situations where with so many games, and also if your league has a weekly games limit, like you can only play 37 games for the week, on a week like this, where it is so spread out with 6, 6, 9, 4, 11, 5, 8, and you don't have to make really any start-sit decisions. By the time you get to the end of the week, you might have to make those start-sit decisions, even though you've only got 7 active players, but you've only got 5 games played left for the week, so you've got to make those choices. when you have those higher volume days where you've got 11 game days, twice or three times during the week, you inevitably have to sit guys on your bench anyway, and that sort of keeps you down at that limit. So that is something that is worth paying attention to or understanding anyway. Let's have a look at the quality games, which is something I referenced earlier when we're talking about teams and when they play. A quality game to me is any day in the NBA where there are 8 games or fewer, meaning that you can use that player and put him into your active lineup. The Hornets and the Thunder both play 4 quality games. So they play 4 games this week, and all 4 of them actually... Should we do it? Yeah, let's do it this way. Let's look at actually who plays the games this week, then we'll talk quality games. There are 3 teams that play 2 games this week: the Clippers, the Kings, and the Jazz. The majority play 3 games, and there's a bunch that play 4. The Hawks, the Pacers, the Blazers, the Wolves, the Thunder, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Sixers, the Hornets, the Magic, and the Bucks all play 4 games. Interestingly, the Bucks play all 4 games on the road. And then everyone else plays 3: Rockets, Pelicans, Celtics, Pistons, Wizards, Nets, Lakers, Raptors, Knicks, Cavs, Mavs, Bulls, Suns, Nuggets, Heat, and Spurs all play 3 games. The Heat, all 3 of their games coming on the road. No team outside of the Clippers with their 2 games plays all games at home. So for quality games, the Thunder and the Hornets, all 4 of their contests are on the low volume days. So you can stream these guys in. So if it is a fringe type of player, say it's a Dennis Schroeder, like you can add him in, and every day that he plays this week, he will be in your best 10 players. So you're able to use him. Contrast that to a player, say Deandre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks. They both play 4 games this week, but the Hawks only have 2 quality games. So when you add Hunter for this week, you might, and if you're looking at daily changes leagues, it is different for weekly changes. Daily changes leagues, you'd be able to use Hunter twice, whereas you'd be able to use Schroeder 4 times. Dwayne Bacon for the Hornets, you'd use him 4 times. Devontae Graham, must-add player regardless. Malik Monk, you could use him 4 times. MC Hamadou Diallo. Nerlens Noel with Steven Adams injured. He's a really interesting ad. Maybe you only get 2 decent games out of him this week, but maybe you get more. So there's some real value in those 4 quality games. The Blazers, the Celtics, the Suns, and the Spurs all have 3 quality games this week. And interestingly, it's the Celtics and the Suns and the Spurs. They only play 3 games this week, but all of them are on the low volume days, while Portland, 3 out of their 4 are on the low volume days. So they are also interesting teams to try and target for that streaming. But targeting it on the correct day is important. There is, unfortunately, with only 6 games Monday and 6 games Tuesday, it's a prime time to be able to stream. Unfortunately, there is no back-to-back on Monday and Tuesday, so we can't add someone for Monday and then get the 2 games out of them. So we're really just looking here as to how else we're going to work it during the week, but they are prime, low-volume streaming type days. The guys we're going to look at next. Now, Wednesday is a relatively high volume one. So if we look at pseudo back-to-backs, which for streaming purposes means if I add someone, say, on Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm not going to use that additional streaming spot anyway, and then I use it back on Thursday. So it's for streaming purposes, it's considered a back-to-back. It's 2 games for 1 ad. So the teams that play that Tuesday-Thursday combination are the Thunder, as we mentioned already, the Hornets with those 2 quality games that they play, and then down to the Spurs. They have that Tuesday-Thursday pseudo back-to-back situation. Friday is also a high volume day, so we can look Thursday, Saturday as a pseudo back-to-back. Of course, the Thunder have that combination, the Hornets have that combination, the Celtics have that combination, as well as the San Antonio Spurs. And then on a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back, which is really key at the end of the week. Again, if you have used your ads up early, if you've used, say, an ad for Monday and an ad for Tuesday, getting 2 for 1 at the end of the week will be key. The Thunder have got it, the Hornets have got it, no surprise there with both of those teams. Given the fact that we talked about them already having those 4 quality games for the week, so getting those combinations and making those stream decisions is really, really smart for this upcoming week. If you want to look at guys who are interesting to add, and I'm looking at players here who are rostered in under 70% of leagues, this is more important for weekly changes leagues, guys who are on your wire who you can add, and for this week will probably be in your starter discussion. You're looking at someone like Matisse Thybulle, the painter for the Sixers. 4 games for Thybulle this week. Probably should be rostered regardless. Only 2 of those are quality games, but his 4 games for a weekly changes league puts him probably in the top 70, given how the distribution of other games goes. Jay Crowder of the Grizzlies, a 4-game week. Getting a 4-game week out of Crowder, who's playing 30 minutes a night. Now, he's not great, but 4 games out of him might be more important than, say, 2 games out of Pat Beverly. Maybe it's better than 2 games out of Lou Williams. Yeah, that's a debatable one, but it's obviously possible with double the amount of games. It is something important. I think Goga Patadze, the Dart.
Problem with my Gogo-mobile. Gogo-mobile? No, not the Dart. Not the Dart.
He was great in his first real game action on Friday. Sabonis also dealing with a calf issue. Turner's going to be out for the week, so Batadze is an interesting ad with 4 games. Rocket Rodney Hood has 4 games, and for daily changes league, the Blazers have 3 streaming opportunities. So for weekly changes, he could be an ad. For daily changes, he is an ad as well. Kyle Anderson of the Grizzlies, his 4 games. Alec Burks of the Golden State Warriors, who are banged up beyond recognition. No Steph, of course. Draymond's injured now. D'Angelo Russell's dealing with an alleged calf injury, so lots of weird stuff happening. Deandre Hunter, I referenced him earlier. In a streaming situation, you might get 2 games out of him, but in a weekly lock league, you get 4 games. So he might be actually enough in a weekly lock league to add and put into your regular lineup, and he's available in a lot of leagues. Other guys we can look at, Malik Monk, Jabari Parker looks pretty strong. Jordan Poole for their games played this week and the opportunities he's going to have. The Duck Luke Kennard, even though he's only playing 3 games. Marcus Morris, you might be able to slot them into your best lineups for this week as well. Eric Pascal from the Golden State Warriors with Draymond injuring that finger also. So some really interesting opportunities for these players. Now, if we're looking at guys to start and sit, let's start with the 2-game teams. I don't think that Lou or Montrez, Montrez Harrell, are going to be must. And I'm talking from a standard 12-team perspective here. I don't think that those guys are must-start players this week. For the Kings, they played 2 games. I would still be looking at starting Fox. Hield is really on the fringe. Anyone else, like Rashawn Holmes, only the 2 games this week, so he was a strong pickup and then shit the bed on Friday with foul trouble, and with Luke Walton as his coach, that was an issue there. Obviously the pencil, Harrison Barnes, obviously Bogdanovic, they're not going to be in the discussion to be players that we use. Marvin Bagley still remains out. And then for the Jazz, I think Gobert and Mitchell with 2 games, they are really borderline type options. They're not. If your team is super strong, they might be your 11th best guy. So maybe not. Yeah, then Conley and Bogdanovic and Ingles, these guys are not going to be start options in the majority of leagues. So you flip that to the other side, and then you look at I'll go through some 3-game teams, some players who you might think normally would be must-start players, like DeJounte Murray, not necessarily sure with only 3 games on. Maximum Derek White, similarly. Not sure if he's worth it for 3 games. But then on the Heat side of things, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, I think they can be starting options for 3-game for those teams with 3 games. At the other end, guys I already talked about, DeAndre Hunter, Jabari Parker, they could be interesting. Goga Batadze for the Pacers as a 4-game guy. Rodney Hood. Andrew Wiggins is someone that you'd consider for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dennis Schroeder for the Oklahoma City Thunder. For the Warriors, Jordan Poole. You're looking at Alec Burks. You're looking at Eric Pascal as options there as well. The painter Matisse Thybulle, Devontae Graham. Malik Monk comes into the discussion for the Hornets as a potential option. DJ Augustin for the Magic with his 4 games is someone that we'd look at as well. I don't think Wes Matthews for the Bucks really qualifies. It's mainly their starters. But that's, I guess, a decent overview for the week into how we stream guys, which guys are strong free agents for this upcoming week, and how to maximize the games played that you have to really be successful in fantasy basketball. Don't forget, subscribe to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball and on Instagram at LockedOnFantasyBasketball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.